Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? We have a very special edition of the London session today. Now, before we start, let's just do a little technical check. So, can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Just gonna see.
I can hear and see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hopefully, I can hear you. Let's see whether everybody else can hear you as well. Let me just see
Good.
what Bruno says. And yes, full screen. I know, Bruno. I know. Yes. Okay, video okay, audio okay. I think we're good to go. Everyone, welcome Coach Dakota. He has kindly agreed to pull an all-nighter for us, so we're gonna be nice. So no,
Yes, yes.
yeah. How are you doing?
We're going. We're watching these markets. We trade different markets, that's for sure. Different time frames.
Yeah,
Or different time zones. That's a better word.
yeah.
Time zones.
Time
But
zones, yeah, different time
yeah,
zones.
yes, that's
Um,
the beautiful thing about the futures market, right?
yeah. So, I mean, London is kind of a slow market for some of these products. Have you traded London before?
I, all the time, all
All
the
the
time.
time. Well, there you go.
I'm a night owl at heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 a.m. It's 2:30 a.m. for me here. 3:30 a.m. Central, and yeah, this is when the markets start to pick up. I usually trade a little bit earlier. I trade the London Open,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll trade that for an hour or two, and then this is about when I'll be going to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I did try trading the London Open, but for some reason, me and the Open, because like you, I'm a night owl, but over here, London Open is very early for me, so my brain just doesn't function properly. And yesterday I kind of showed some of my stats by time of day, and you can see how much I actually suck at the Open. So let's see. So this is. My overall stats, right? So you can see that any time I start to trade before about 11 o'clock my time, I suck, right? There's just no way around it. And it's probably because my brain is just like, nah, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then you
Hmm.
just click buttons. But if I could trade London overnight, like sometimes we used to tour in Asia, and that would be pretty nice time after the gig. You're kind of getting a little bit tired, and you're like, all right, but I'm still awake and I'm buzzing from the gig. I used to do that, and it was pretty good, much better than me trying to trade as soon as I get up. So what is your choice of product for this time of day? Is it still NASDAQ or Nikkei?
Still the same ones. Still the same ones. NASDAQ, Nikkei, crude oil, and gold. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the markets. Those are the only markets I watch. Morning, night, and day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's under. I don't think I've really watched or played around with anything else. Bitcoin, of course, that's been the talk
Mm.
of the town.
It has.
Everyone lately.
Everyone. Yeah.
Everyone's been
Coach
talking
Paul
about
is like,
Bitcoin.
what do we look at? Bitcoin. What do we look at? Bitcoin.
I mean, we're all traders at heart,
Yeah.
right? So if it's moving, if we could, find some way to take advantage of it and make money, then that's something we could look at. But I've been trading these markets for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I I have never traded what you traded. I've never traded platinum, natural gas, and some of those. Copper, I've never
Yeah.
traded copper.
Yeah.
But you
Copper's
said
beautiful. Yeah.
you trade those a lot at this time,
Yeah,
right?
a lot. So I've traded gold for about 12 years for various prop firms, and it's similar in movement, but it's less wicky. And if you like, because I know that you like your few hours trades with high risk reward, if you can get it at the right time, it's it's beautiful. You can hold the trade for like 4 hours, and it gives you like 150, 200 ticks. It's lovely. Sometimes it gets obviously range bound, but you know what you're doing, so you'll be able to see that. But yeah, copper is awesome. It doesn't wick around as much. It's also very technical. So I find it super technical, like crude oil. It moves for certain times of the day, so you can almost snipe your trades and anticipate the moves at particular times of day. Like just before we came on, you were talking about NASDAQ liking to reverse for the London Open.
Hmm.
And for example, copper doesn't do that so much, but gold likes doing that. Quite frequently, you get a little bit of a stop run through either Asia high or low, and then it reverses. But for some reason, I'm just not really able to wake up enough to actually probably capitalize on that. All right, so when it comes to Nikkei, I like trading it overnight, but I find that it slows down for London quite a bit, and it still moves, but it's so how do you deal with like slightly lower liquidity that Nikkei tends to have during London? Because sometimes it has like a couple of spreads, and then that's something that I found very challenging with Nikkei during London. You try and get in, and then the spread sort of comes and gets you. And I found that I would need to use like a 30-tick stop to really kind of catch the bigger moves. How do you get around that?
Limit orders. Limit orders.
Limit orders.
Yeah, and higher time frames. Limit orders and higher time frames. The higher the time frame, obviously, the less the spread will have an effect on the way that you trade. So definitely limit orders. I don't think I ever recommend market orders in a low liquidity market, especially like Nikkei where it's $25 a tick. And when you're trading one contract, and you can see the bid and ask right here in front of us. That's $50 just to get in, and then $50 to get out. So that's $100 round turn, not including the commissions if you were just to get in, get it out. So it's definitely not a market to just scalp, which a lot of traders are just so used to. But higher time frames, and then limit orders.
Awesome. Thank you for that. We have a couple of questions. So let's do Paul H. Question first. Welcome, Coach Dakota. Good morning, Dee. I have a short gold from 2570.3. Just took 3 off. Now looking for next take profit. Do you guys see any support levels if we go lower? Let's have a look. What do you reckon?
Gold's just going straight down. Gold's
yeah, I do have some options related levels interest around 2550, but it has overshot that quite a bit.
It's just going
gold. Yeah, it's funny. If we manage to pull up from to 2550, so let me just flip to my screen for a second and go to GC. Yeah, I mean, this would be, for me, a very dangerous level to kind of keep holding into unless we close at least a 15-minute candle like below it. So 25.50 for me is a bit of a dangerous area because there was a lot of options interest around there. And what tends to happen is that market makers like to adjust their inventory around there, and that's why you need to pay attention. So yeah, for me, I would be taking all of it off around here and then just resetting and looking for maybe another opportunity somewhere. What do you reckon, Coach D?
If I was a gold trader, I'd be looking for a long right here. It's hard though because it feels like you're trying to catch a falling knife. Looking at this 1 hour chart, it's just you don't want to be long this market, but yeah, this is a decent area where you could see some type of a bounce, some type of a pullback here in gold. Back in September, this was that area where we were having a lot of consolidation. This is the upper end of that consolidation, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, can gold keep selling off? Yeah.
I mean, of course it can. Yeah, anything can happen, right? But it's just down to how much it's fallen already, where those areas are. Do we have congestion? This is where something like volume profile helps. If you're arriving in a high congestion area, probably not the best thing to keep holding. So let me just expand my chart. And I mean, yeah, you can see the same thing on the volume profile. If I go back, this is a daily chart now. There's some very thick structures right here around 2550, point of control at 2540. So anytime you see point of control on a daily chart, that's kind of like your pivot to take profits, because I used to use monthly pivots as my take profits whenever I did like swing trading. But point of control can act in a similar way. Actually, it's a little bit more accurate because it's based on actual volume, right? So yeah, I would agree that it may keep falling. I mean, yeah, anything can happen, but it's a bit of a dangerous area to just kind of hope that it's going to slice through without any slowdown, any speed bumps. So Paul, I mean, not that this is like a signal service or anything, but if it was me in this position, I would be just taking it all off and calling it a day.
Oh man, you're short from 25.70. So I mean, that's a
That's a good
nice
move.
trade. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good day.
Yeah, Paul does. Paul was here with us with Coach Ray and myself. I think it was last week, and he is really good. Like he's not a new trader, but I think futures are new to him, and he
Hmm.
just makes amazing trades like all the time. So may it continue. He's a very very good guy. All
Interesting.
right, so let's have a look at some other questions. So Verti has a bit of a loaded question. Can we get Dakota's backstory? I kind of don't want to torture you with your backstory
This time of night, you don't know what you're
on
gonna
no
hear.
sleep. Yeah, yeah, you don't know what you're gonna get. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna get quite colorful as we've all had our
Yeah.
moments.
Yes, yes.
But
Lack
yeah,
of
maybe a
sleep
brief
and
summary, just of maybe just focus on the trading stuff in like a couple of sentences, and then we can move on.
yeah, so I haven't slept. This is an all-nighter for me watching the
Yeah.
markets. Right after this, I'll probably go to sleep. I don't mind. It's one of those things in these markets, real quick, is that you can take any day you want off. You don't have to trade. And
Yeah.
so that's something a lot of traders just get into a really bad habit of, just trading every single day. And I used to do that. So I started learning about the markets when I was a little kid. I don't know the exact age. I think it was like 8 or 9 years old is when
Wow.
I started learning about the markets. I got signed on to my mother's old Scott Trade account when I think when I turned 14,
Wow.
and
That's early.
I would every dollar that I got, I would put it into the markets and just blow it, because I didn't know what I was doing. But
Was that because
yeah,
your mom was in trading, or was she interested? Like how? Because it's not like the
um,
normal thing you hear. It's like, oh yeah, I just got into trading when I was 8.
so I grew up from a very, very, poor family, or humble family, and it was just either get a college, like, get a good education, go work at, like, the where I grew up, there's a lot of coal mines, and it was either go to work at the coal mines because that was good money. But then everybody I heard, and all my friends I talked to, said that their dads were never home.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, that's not what I want. I wanted to get a job at home, and this is before the remote work was happening and all that. So I remember when I was a little kid, I was like, well, I want to be at home, and I fell in love with, like, money, obviously, because you learn that money gets you the things that you want as a little kid.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I found out the fastest way to get money is to study finance. And down that path, I learned that there's these things called the financial markets, and you could trade them and make all this money. And obviously, when the beginning of the internet with the dial-up internet, um,
Oh, yeah,
you
you
see,
you called the dial-up internet as well, because that was that was like a normal
mm,
thing in my 20s. It's like, of course, you got dial-up internet.
yeah, that's what I grew up with. Like, five, six, seven, eight, that was the first thing I would do. And yeah, you see all these advertising about people making all this money, day trading, penny stocks, and all of this, and advertising. And so I fell in love with it, and that's where it started.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, I had a different path. I actually grew up in a pretty affluent family, so no one was kind of teaching us. We were sort of expected to know stuff, but because of the background, I actually think we had a disadvantage because we were in such a secure environment that you never really even thought about it. But I was a pretty driven person anyway, so I actually went to negotiate my own album when behind my dad's back when I was 12, and that was like across the town completely. And my mom flipped out when she found out, like, a 12-year-old girl going to negotiate album deals with dodgy music producers and people. It's like, it's not what you want to hear. But yeah, I started gigging when I was 14, and that was my love for a very long time. So I didn't really get into the markets until I was 27. so fairly
Okay.
late in the game. But you know, I had degrees from like the music side of things, and I found huge parallels with like pattern recognition and all of that. So yeah, I think that I've met so many interesting individuals through this line of work, and it's never a boring story. You know, when I first spoke to you that time when Whips was doing the takeover, you were like, "Oh yeah, I worked in the coal mines," and I'm like.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I was like, I can't tell how old he is because he talks like he's 100, you know? So I worked in a coal mine. Oh, I had a logistics
Uh-huh.
company. I was like, when did you
Uh-huh.
get to do all of this? Because you obviously you look younger
Mm-hmm.
than your age. And yeah, I was just like so intrigued. I'm like, this is not your regular kind of younger guy who's just kind of like, yeah, I do a bit of trading. So I could tell immediately that you come from a very driven background, and that
Mm-hmm.
that obviously you have a great eye for the markets. Now, is that something that you developed yourself, or did you have
Mm.
mentors? Did you do courses?
I never did have any courses, experience, just going through it yourself. The only thing I ever learned was, well, and I said this, I don't know how many times I don't even know if I've mentioned this. Tasty Trade, Tom
Oh yeah.
Sajnoff, they had, that's when they first started on their YouTube, and I followed them, and that's where I learned a lot from that. Other than that, it's just been self-exploratory, online and through losing my own money.
Yeah, like a lot of people do. I blew up a couple of accounts learning. Nothing too major. I think my biggest one was 70K, which I kind of built up over like 9 months. And I was a swing trader. You know, I was pretty good, but I got to 70K and then I got really biased in one of the. It was a Euro Aussie trade, and I
Mhm.
didn't normally trade Euro Aussie. That was probably part of the problem. And I was like, no, this has got to go up, and it didn't. So the whole thing just went, and it was all my psychology. So it really put me on the path to find out why that happened, and I dove like deep into neuroscience and fight or flight response, and since then I've been able to kind of keep on top of that, and I know how to navigate that. I think that's probably the biggest issue that people face in trading is like you versus you, and you versus your own psychology. Never mind levels and stuff like that. That's the easy part. You know, draw a line on the chart. How difficult can it be? But it's all the stuff that happens inside of you when things don't go to plan. I think that's something that is not talked about enough. So how do you handle psychology? Because you're very good under pressure. That like I'm probably most impressed with you how good you are under pressure.
We're
Do
gonna
you
find out.
experience emotions? Some people say you're a robot.
I just shorted the NASDAQ, so we'll
Okay.
see how this one plays out. We all have that one trade, right? That we always remember some of the trades. I remember there's one trade. It wasn't one of like the biggest trades I've taken, or my biggest loss was. It was more recently. I do have I have like an account where I said, okay, this is money I don't care to lose. This isn't something that's part of my like investment profile where I could just say it's like, oh, it's throwaway money, but it's one where I don't mind taking a lot of risk, kind of like the YOLO account that everyone's been saying and talking about, is GameStop. During all that whole GameStop hype, I was the guy that was shorted. I shorted it,
Oh,
and
right. Yeah. Ouch.
because it was just one of those where I'm like, GameStop is just not worth that much.
Yeah.
And it was just going up and up, and it got to like, I think it was like $175 a share. Like, this is
Crazy.
absolutely insane. I'm gonna go ahead and short this. And I remember, oh, I think it was that night, Elon Musk sent out a Twitter post that sent it up, and yeah, it was just one of those. I'm like, well, that was a
Yeah,
stupid thing
you
to
gotta
do, I
eat it
guess.
up and move on. Yeah, there's nothing else to do. That's one of the things that I don't like about some of those stocks, that one tweet from one individual with a lot of capital can just make such a big impact, and there's no regulation around it. Like nobody can stop Elon from tweeting, any old shit that he wants on the day. And that's kind of like I never went into crypto as well. I did have, like I said, some Bitcoin and XRP back in 2017. Bitcoin went up to 20,000 just before COVID. I was like, yeah, this is a good thing. So I took it off, and then it shot up, and I just wanted to go and jump off a bridge. So I'm like, ah. But I thought 3 years to hold something is long enough, because I'm generally an intraday trader, and that was never meant to be such a long trade for me. But then it did nothing for an age until it kind of jumped up. So it was a decent trade, but I'm still kind of kicking myself for taking that off. Yeah. Go.
The funny thing is that, everybody that I talked to and knew is just talking about how they're buying it and it keeps going up. And it was like what Bitcoin's doing today.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody that you talk to or know is just buying this thing. And it's just that common thing. I'm like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and take some shorts out on this stock that's worth nothing. Or obviously, it's not worth what the current prices. Now that's just completely different than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
This is a brick and mortar stock, and it was just one of those. I've had a few other memorable trades like that I think if you've been around and if you've traded for a period of time, you will have those. You 100% will.
Yeah.
I still get them every once in a while. I had one this summer where in the Topstep account, I was holding, I think, 30 minis in the NASDAQ. 30 or I mean, yeah, you can imagine what 30 minis is.
Yeah.
It's pretty big position.
Yeah.
And I went to bed because I'm an overnight trader, and so I held the position overnight. I slept through my alarm clock through a big CPI event, and I caught a $20,000 worth of slippage.
Yikes.
Slippage.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
now that's my stop loss plus slippage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
painful. Yeah, but it happens. This is
uh-huh.
this is something we have to deal with. I had a minor one actually 2 days ago. I don't know why I couldn't exit my platinum trades. I don't know whether it was. I think we had some issues with the platform at that point, but I didn't see that on time. So obviously I was like, oh, maybe this is just like, I don't know, thin market. Platinum is a thin market. So I clicked to get into a trade, and I didn't like what it was doing. However, that first click never even filled me. So I clicked a couple more times thinking, oh, it didn't go through, it killed the order. And I looked at the orders, it didn't say anything. It just said market order and then nothing on the status. So it's like, oh, maybe it just got canceled. It didn't, maybe they don't have enough orders there. That's fine. So I clicked a couple of times, and then I moved away to do something else. And I look, and I was in like a much bigger position than I intended to be. And then I couldn't get out of it. I just couldn't I kept clicking, and it wasn't flattening. It wouldn't partial the order or anything. And then obviously it reached the daily loss limit of 1.5K. Not a terrible loss or anything, but I just wasn't particularly happy with that. I was like, do not, what am I doing? Double clicking, triple clicking? Click. So don't do that. It's not the best choice. Click once, maybe see if it fills or not. And reach out to support. Maybe look at the boards and Slack before you try and do anything else. All right, let's see some more questions. Somebody's saying look at oil. I did look at oil before we came on because I do this whole analysis. I spent probably about 15-20 minutes before just kind of mapping out these levels and stuff. Didn't really see anything of interest. I think it was just going. And I can see that that's happening as well. Let me switch to my screen for a second. So CL, again, I've spoken about this before. When something just starts to move and I'm not in it, and it's nowhere near any levels of interest that I would have on that product, I will leave it alone. So the only thing that I see in crude oil is that, yes, we have like a bearish engulfing. We have, I think this is weekly kickoff low, if I'm not mistaken. What is that? Let's see. No, weekly kickoff high. No, weekly kickoff low. I need to change these colors because I never know which one is which.
This is crude oil, right?
This is crude oil, yeah.
Okay.
So I do have kind of a high volume level around 68.50, but that tends to bring more kind of trending moves through it. However, the way I'm seeing this, I would be short here, but the move resulting from the prior push is quite sizable, so I would like to be long, but not here. And that's why, for my kind of style of trading, this is not the best outlook. Did you look at crude oil today, Coach D?
I did. You're a big crude oil trader, right?
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was my
crude oil.
main bread and butter for many, many years.
Yeah, crude oil is one of the markets I do watch a lot, and I do trade quite frequently. Yeah, and the move we seen yesterday was crazy, where
Oh,
we sold
nuts.
off all the way down to 67 and then straight back up,
Yeah.
past through into
It
this
does that.
consolidation.
It does that.
And
Yeah.
I
Love
it
doing that.
is. It's funny. I'm bullish, a little bit
Yeah,
bullish crude
same.
right now, thinking that we could, break through this consolidation and see if we could at least test 69 or go above. But I'm a little bit more hesitant just because of all this, pressure, and I think we're running into rollover soon, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's this week, I think. Usually it's around the 17th.
yeah, I think so. And so I'm
Although,
gonna wait for it
hold
to
on. We did
consolidate.
jump to December, so that was a little unusual. Didn't we jump over a month?
We're
Or
on the Z. We're on the Z contract.
yeah, so maybe no rollover. I don't know. Usually it's yeah, I'm gonna have to check that because now I'm not sure.
I rely too much on the chat anymore.
Yeah,
I ask
same.
them and they give it to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, so maybe we could
Um,
do that. Chat, can somebody look up when does December crude oil roll?
yeah, we've been spoiled with the chat sometimes, where you
Oh
ask them a
yeah.
question and they know it a lot quicker than I could look it up.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah, they've corrected me a few times. It's like, D, yeah, it's you're wrong. Like there was one week where we had a holiday and then crude oil was doing what it does this week actually. Whoops, somebody's calling me. No, go away. Yeah, we had the crude oil inventories moved to Thursdays at that's 4 p.m. my time, and usually it's Wednesdays at 3:30. So I was like, yeah, it's Wednesday. We have the inventories today, and chat goes, no, D, it's tomorrow. It's like,
yeah,
thanks,
there we go.
guys.
There's rollover.
Yeah.
Rollover is going to be this week.
Yes, it is
So
this week. Okay, yeah, so 17th of November. Okay. So that means that crude oil, it just behaves very weird. You have this split volume between the two contracts. Some people are still trading the old one, other people are trading the new one. It's just a whole bunch of mess. I don't like doing swing trades for crude oil around about this time. Until they roll completely into the new contract. And it lends itself to more range-bound days. So maybe if you're going for those breakouts on crude oil this week, try to make sure that it is a genuine opportunity. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck with a fake out. And nobody wants that. All right, let's have a look at more questions. Okay, well, Faisal Khan says, morning, Coach Dakota. I'm new here a couple of weeks. Now, I'm not clear on whether this is a new trader or just new to Topstep, because he says, how do I learn to get to your level of trading? Any 3 practical resource tips? Start when you're 8. That would be my take. Dakota, go. Any wise words for a man here?
I mean, that simple. Keep it simple. I mean, every single successful trader I've met and talked to, it usually has a very simple strategy. Keep it simple and focus on risk management. That really is the key. It
Yeah.
is keep it
Yeah.
simple and risk management.
Yeah, budgeting, I think, is a big thing that many people don't really take seriously enough, especially in the early parts of their journey. Are you still in that NASDAQ trade? Do you want to talk us through that, what you saw there and why?
Yeah, I closed out a couple,
Mm-hmm.
or I was in 5 contracts, 5 minis.
Mm-hmm.
I closed out a couple here. I've actually closed out 3. I
Mm-hmm.
might close out another one, but everything I like is usually set up on a higher time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me just go over this. Here's an hourly chart. We got up into this was a bit of a resistance throughout the New York session,
Mm-hmm.
and we rallied up through. We tried to make a run at 200. We failed, rejected it, and then I zoom into a 5-minute chart, and sure enough, we rallied up. There's that major rejection. We came down and we consolidated, and as soon as we started to push these lows, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to play for a breakout to the downside. Jumped into 5 minis, and yeah, so far this is just a quick trade.
So it's not meant to last for hours. So you're basically just doing a scalp here.
Correct. Yeah, it's been a
Okay.
while since I've been in London session. I
Mm-hmm.
I am a bit tired, and so
Yeah.
for me to, uh, yeah, maybe one would say it's ill-advised to throw around 5 minis when you are a little
You
bit
can
tired.
afford
And
it.
it's been a while. It's been a while since you yeah
See,
yeah
on a 300K account, trading 5 minutes is fine. What I don't like to see is when people have like 50 or 100K accounts and then they're trading 15. And it's like, it's
yeah
just an insane amount of risk, man. Because, they're like, oh, but my stop loss is like, only 10 or 15 ticks. That's fine. But there's such a thing as slippage, which people don't really think about. And in the live markets, it's so much more impactful than anything, especially when you get to a certain size. I had somebody, because I got stung years ago on one of the FOMCs for like $250,000. I couldn't get out of a position, and it went my way for a while, and then I kept trying to get out, and there was nobody there to take my order. So, if I didn't have a heart attack then, probably never will. So that's awesome. However, the point of that story is that even somebody was saying to me, Dee, just use levels. Like, you can't get out of a position. It's like levels mean squat when there's nobody else in the live market to take your order. And, it's just such a retail mindset. And this is kind of where I have a little bit of beef with like sim only firms. Where they just have like super unrealistic expectations, and you can trade 20 contracts and you just do one on each, and suddenly you're making a lot of cash, and then people are like, yes, I'm a professional trader. Are you really? Because trading 20, 30, 40 lots in a one account is not the same as trading across 20 and never seeing those big numbers per position just float around. So, it's definitely, it has a place in the prop space. But I think that when people get from that, like 5 XFAs into one live account, they just fall apart. We've seen it over and
correct.
over on
Yes.
Tap.
hmm
So how do you approach positioning? Because this is something that I wanted to ask you. How do you approach your positioning in the XFAs versus your live? Because I know you use XFAs to fund your live as well.
Yeah, so not anymore. It's now one live account, no more extra phase for
Okay.
me going forward.
Okay.
But it's a completely different ball game in terms of how orders are managed, how executions are, and even more importantly, above all of that, the psychological aspect of this, right? There's no such thing as a reset. You can't just
No.
I'm gonna get out of that position. You can't just say, I'm going to just do some new combines, pass through and get the new XFA. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't happen, right?
No.
If I was to, blow this live account, whether it's my this live prop firm account or, a personal account, the money's gone. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it. It's
I mean,
real.
that's that. And
Yeah.
there's some great traders out there, and there's some decent traders that are trading sim, but I will personally, I'll never recognize any sim trader as a professional trader,
Same.
because it's a different world. I mean, I could show on any sim account, and I could do some extreme scalping and take advantage of like these crazy fills. That's just
Yeah,
unrealistic.
perfect
And
fills.
then
Yeah.
yeah, and have zero emotion, right? The same way that anybody could load up a practice account and throw on whatever size without any emotion, knowing that uh, they have no repercussion other than like say $150 or $50 they put in. Um, it's a
Yeah.
weird thing.
It's always funny when you see in chat, it's like, I made 15,000 on my practice account. And I was like, like, why do you even say that in the chat? That's just like me saying, yeah, Monopoly money, yay. It's like, it means absolutely nothing. If you kind of say, yeah, I did that in XFA, yeah, I'm going to have respect because it's like it's a difficult thing to do. You have some skin in the game. And yes, you have the possibility of blowing that up, buying some more. But, there's a little bit more risk. But once you get to the live, if you dig a hole for yourself, you just have to manage the account on that level. And not many people are able to do that. So what I try to do with this class is to make people aware of how to manage the account on an account balance basis rather than any sort of a daily loss limit that the risk team will provide for you. And that's where I think a lot of people go wrong. They still see those big numbers in their head. They bleed out the account due to pressure. You have this thing called the funded trader jitters. You get a new live account. Typically, it's a complete car crash for the first couple of weeks. And many don't survive that. And that's a huge issue. So I think that needs to be talked about more. And I think we need to make sure that we educate people on account balance management. So what we see constantly on Shoulder Tap is, hey, he got into a live account with like 10 grand. And then he YOLO'd his way to like 20 or 30K on a couple of days. And then it's data loss limit, data loss limit, data loss limit, data loss limit, data loss. And then a week later, they're like, tombstone.
Yeah, or even or they just keep the account at like $500
$500, yeah.
just so they don't
Yeah.
so that you
It's like,
don't
I still
lose
have
the
it.
place
I still
in the
have it.
leaderboard or something like that. Yeah.
But then it's
Um,
like, it's so stupid because it's like, if you can't drag yourself out by sizing down to micros, we have micros these days. I don't know why people don't utilize them. And it's definitely the fight or flight. You go into this survival mode. It's like, no, I have 500. But if I just do a one lot on NQ, and if it goes like 10 ticks my way, I will pull it out. You won't, okay? Like the statistical probability of you managing to pull the account out with one NQ mini when you have $500 left in the account is close to zero. It's like winning a lottery. Just don't. So yeah, it's an interesting psychological aspect to me, and it's endlessly entertaining and interesting, and to study, to see how people behave. There's also something that I've noticed recently with people taking payouts and then blowing the XFAs. Have you ever done something like that? Have you blown up XFAs before? Have you, I don't know how risk aware you are on that side, because I know you can, easily afford it. You've already won the accounts, so,
Yeah, I've blown through XFAs.
Yeah.
Testing everything, because was like one of the things where I'm gonna test this, and then we went through, and it was 3 accounts, right? Topstep started like we have like
with
one
three,
account and 3 accounts, and I was on the fence. I was actually against copy trading because to me that was just the dumbest thing. I'm like, well, why would you want to do that? Because I'm a live trader, and that's what I do for a living, and this is my first experience in the prop world and the sim thing and this whole concept of trading in a sim environment and then taking a payouts from that, and then being in a live account and taking money and getting a payout from a simulated account. That didn't I didn't understand that. And then that you could just go and you could just purchase 20 and then multiple accounts, and people were posting all over social media of all this money that they're making.
Yeah, 100
And
grand,
it took me a while to wrap my head around that, like where are these guys making these money? And then understanding the whole prop firm world, that this is just not money. It's actually coming from other people's blown accounts.
Yeah, that's one of the big issues that I have with it. You see people making big bucks, and you know where that's coming from. It's coming from people who have blown other accounts, and it's not the prop firm paying you real money. They're paying you out from other traders, and in a way, we kind of do that in the markets, but at the same time, it's a little bit unethical to me. I don't know. That's just and even now, if people go, I want to copy trade, I would say, well, copy 2. Leave yourself some swings at the bat if the day doesn't go well. And then you have a couple of them that you messed up, and then you have 3rd, 4th, and 5th to sort of make up for it. And I think psychologically it's a lot easier that way on many people. I see many people living on the breadline and then buying 5 accounts and blowing
Hmm.
them up all in one go. So I kind of feel sorry for them. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
you poor guy. It's like you just spend like your last bit of paycheck on 5 accounts with dollars in your eyes and thinking, yeah, this is going to change my life. And you're not prepared for it and you blow it up and then you just go, well, now what? I've had people crying over FTT blowing up. I've had people crying over copy trading. So, you know, a lot of people DM me on Twitter and I can see their pain, but what do you want me to do? About it. It's like, you know, I feel sorry for you, but
Hmm.
you know, and then people are like, no, please help me. Please help me get a Topstep account. And I'm like, I don't know how much power you think I have, but you know, I'm just like on-air
Yeah.
personality. We're not support. We're not, you know, permanent Topstep employees. And I feel for them. But this, you know, be a little bit more clever. I don't know. So copy trading is definitely a two-edged sword for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's pros and cons to it. If someone tells you the stove's hot and you still touch it, then you don't complain to that person that you burn your hand.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've seen there that you referenced. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate. Everyone has to go through and learn their own ways. But copy trading, I mean, you can't call your broker and say, I just want to open up multiple accounts and put money in 5 different accounts. They're like, what? Like,
Well, you can open
just put it
sub accounts, but you need to give them very good reasons
correct.
why
Y-
you're doing that. Like they need like
Correct.
a almost like
Like
a business
it's
plan. It's like, why do you need another account? And if you want to trade foreign currencies or something or foreign stocks, you know, very very good reason why you might be opening up more accounts. Yeah, they will accommodate you, but they're not going
yeah.
to open up one account so you can copy trade 20 NQs.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna send you 50,000, but then I want 5 $10,000 accounts, but I'm just gonna only be trading the same product at the same
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
that's where I had a hard time understanding. But then the more I started talking to traders, it was more along the psychological part of it,
Yeah.
where they can trade one account really good
Yeah.
because they're looking at, hey, I made $200 today, and you're not thinking that it's times 5, right?
Yeah.
And in reality, you made $1,000. But then if they're trying to trade one account, then they start psychologically looking at that $1,000 mark instead of 200 or
Yeah.
whatever that multiple
Therein
is.
lies the problem. Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
so that started to make sense to me. I'm like, oh, well, let me try it out. So I tried to copy trade 5 accounts and I'm like, great, I made $1,500 today. But then I'm like, wow, wait, actually
Times
it's
5. Yeah,
times
that's
5.
serious money now. Yeah.
Then the next day goes along. I'm like, oh yeah, I made about 3,000 today, and then nope, it's actually
Yeah.
15,000. And
Yeah.
then I did that for about a week, and I made $100,000
Yeah.
because it's times 5. I'm like, well, this is just a game. Like this is
Yeah, it's a
crazy.
video game. Yeah, that's all
Yeah,
it is. Yeah. But you
yeah,
see, you have the ability and the emotional resilience, I would say, because, you know, we've dealt with like high moneyed environments and it's not super life changing. I don't know for you, but for me, it's like I'm in a pretty good situation in my life at this point. You know, in mid 40s, you would expect to do that anyway. But generally, you know, some people are just ill prepared to handle those sort of high moneyed environments. And I think that's another thing that kind of trips them up. I think it's very inspirational what you're doing. And I think you're an excellent trader. That's just undeniable. I think that people want to dethrone you. I did that tweet, which I thought you might get a laugh out of,
yeah.
because they're like, yeah,
People focus on the wrong things. They need to focus
exactly,
on
yeah. It's
learning
like,
their own
I'm gonna beat
process.
Dakota. It's like, no, mate, you need to like beat yourself first before you
Yeah.
come after anyone. It's like, and why are you coming after anyone? This should be you versus you. Just be happy with what you're doing. You know, leave our
Mhm.
Dakota alone. You know?
It's just the funniest thing. And there was one comment. I've enjoyed my time on Twitter or X because there's some funny stuff on there. I've enjoyed some of the communication, but I don't know who it was or where it was. Coach Jay even threw his 2 cents in there, and it was just like these self-proclaimed traders,
Yeah,
these number like self-proclaimed I'm the best.
yeah,
It really is just like you you're making your own trophy and telling
yeah,
everybody that you're the best. um, that's not what you need to do. That's not what Topstep is. That's why I love Topstep. That's why I'm
Yeah,
here. I'm pretty sure that's why you're here as well.
absolutely.
It
Yeah.
is because to answer what I think there was a question in the chat where it goes like Zeke, is that the name? Man, my
Um,
eyes are
I don't
just tired. But he
don't
was
see
asking,
that.
it was basically, yeah, there it is. Is the
Right.
goal to be a professional trader or to make money, right? And because that's been a debate. I'm like, hey, I don't care if it's a sim account. I still get the cash in my pocket, right? Which is great. That's an amazing thing for traders to have that capability to learn in a safer environment and not risk, their own cash and still receive a paycheck or at least a payout. But the goal is to become a better trader and learn how to be able to do that on yourself. Now, you can't just open up a sim account by yourself and then just receive a paycheck based off of your own sim
Yeah.
trading. So that's what the goal is. It's nice that you have prop firms to where you can receive a payout from practicing and becoming better.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal is the live account and being able to do it on your own.
Yeah, some people are like, what is the goal of the live account? It seems it's all downside because suddenly you have extra fees and blah, 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 and then the whole moaning side of things comes out. It's like, well, if it's not your goal to ever be in a live account, and to me, being with a prop firm is kind of like getting a trading partner. Because, in business, you have partners, right? Why do you do that? Well, A, because it's easier to do things with others around you. And B, it's because, it's nicer to have somebody to call up, to have a little cry, or to discuss strategy. We're all here to help each other. And I think that's what the trading community should be all about. That's what Topstep is about, as you pointed out. But many of the trading communities are highly toxic. It's one of the reasons why I don't really like going into Topstep Discord. The couple of times that I popped my head in there, I just got completely assaulted by trolls when they realized it was me. And then some other people were like, oh, sorry, Dee, yeah, welcome to Discord. And I was like, yeah, I know what Discord is. Like, yes, I am mid-40s, but, I've been around for a while. And yes, I've been in Discord communities. That's why I can tell you that I dislike them with passion. Because of the toxicity, right? You try and help someone and they're just like, yeah, but you've lost like 3 trades on fast markets. And I was like, yeah, first of all, that's not just me, right? It's like everyone. It's a committee trading, in case you haven't noticed. And then it just kind of blows up and, I kind of try and defend my position and they just won't listen. So now I've kind of taken a different approach where I just tell them I love them, It's like,
Yeah.
it's okay, man. I still
See,
love you.
see, I've learned how to pin them against each other. I'll go
Oh,
in there in
really?
Discord and I'd get the ICT groups and they'll jump
Oh,
over into these other channels and I start these little fights and the ambassadors just hate me because they have to clean up the mess. That I just
that's
had a
hilarious.
blast. Um, but outside of that, yeah, that's all you could really do.
Yeah,
Especially you've seen it on Twitter and social media, where hey, you know what? If that's how you feel, so be it.
yeah, yeah,
And then just not even commenting on half of that crap.
yeah, yeah. I know that Patak has a pretty thick skin when it comes to that. So, some days it does get to me though. Like a couple of times, I actually had someone who was like, "Oh yeah, the platinum trade that you did didn't really work out well," and it worked out perfectly. So it's like, "What the hell are you on about?" And then I showed him executions. And I was like, yeah, now what do you have to say for yourself? And he was like, oh, I thought 08 was your stop. And I'm like, no, it was my entry. Yeah. So, it's kind of sometimes annoying that they're trying to catch you out. It's like, I'm going to catch you out that you did a bad trade. It's like everybody's going to do a bad trade. Nobody's perfect. We're not robots. It's just that sort of, the toxicity around, are we going to show you that you're not that good? It's like, I don't claim that I am, right? It's just none of us claim that we're best traders in the world, unlike some people on Twitter. I think I'm a decent trader, and I think no professional trader will ever say, I'm the number one trader in the world. Because we all have humility. We've done this for a long enough time to know that you will get stung at some point, but it's down to how you behave after that. what really differentiates the professional traders from the wannabes, that I like to call them. And if you have a bad day, do you just go on a rampage and just go, I'm now going to get back at this market, I'm going to show you and blah. But a professional trader, true professional, never does that. They're just going to be like, oh, okay, I suck today. Yeah, all right. We should probably
It's that
walk
ego.
away. It's the
It's
ego.
the ego.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is really.
And it's the toughest thing to deal with. I feel for people who are going through that. But we need to differentiate the professionals by the way they behave through a bad day and a drawdown, and not how they behave on their winning days. And to me, that's the only difference, right? True difference.
Yeah. Traders hate me when I say this because the trading industry is typically male dominated. And when I say some of the best traders I've ever watched or worked with, are female. They are. I remember this one lady. She's a stay-at-home mom. She had 2 kids, or she has 2 kids, and she never traded before ever, and she wanted to learn, and those absolutely the best, where no bad habits, no ego, completely humble, and like there's no bad habits, and she was able to go through the whole process and start becoming consistent. Fastest I've ever seen. I'm like, how, like, that's crazy. But all she did was just follow a process. She didn't care about winning or losing. She followed a process, and she didn't care that, like, and she had no ego. It was just the crazy thing to see. And I'm like, and then it happened again when I seen another lady, stay-at-home mom with kids, and I'm like, that is just, yeah, it's night and day. It really is. So then you have someone like myself, or someone similar to me, where we're like just such hard-headed and such a big ego, where everyone is just trying to see who could,
Who could
I
outdo each
gotta
other.
keep it PG
Well, I
in
mean,
here, but
the reason why you got up there is because of that challenge. It was like, yeah, those who teach can do, can't do, kind of thing. And you were like, oh yeah, hold my beer.
okay, yeah, I get that. That's the competitor in me, yeah, and
But see, for me, that competitive, I have a really hugely competitive side too. But in trading, it works against me, bizarrely, because I then try and push trades instead of do what you're supposed to do, just look for the process and stuff. So I don't know whether it's just me, kind of my brain sort of aging a little bit, because I was able to capitalize on those sort of behaviors a lot better about 10, 15 years ago. Nowadays, it seems to work against me. So I don't know, something's changed. Thank you, age, and just generally growing old sucks. But one of those things about competition and stuff, it does breed excellence in a certain way for certain types of people. But I will agree that women, on the whole, pick up things much faster. They are less egotistical, and they do. They can walk away more easily. I have a couple of women in my private coaching now, and they're all excellent. So one of them actually has a baby, and she still manages to do a stellar performance better than a lot of my other male clients who, blew up 12 combines. And I was like, we've been working for a month. When did you get to do that? So maybe in the future, somebody yesterday, actually one of the girls that is always in here, Sarah, she actually said, well, maybe we could have, see, she's in here today, maybe we can have a VIP group for women only. So, until I actually heard that, I wasn't really interested in running a VIP group, because obviously I've got my private coaching clients and stuff. But if we can do something different, and again, this is for the producers as well, maybe having a female-only VIP group, I would be highly interested in running that. But, just having another VIP group, it doesn't really, suit my goals. But if we can get women to see how women deal with, pressures of competition and stuff, and that would be pretty cool, I think.
I'm all for it. But yeah, there's always those hurdles and tape that you always have to get through.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult. It's always difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, because then you get that conversation. Well, let's have a group that's only
Yeah,
guy.
that's just
I
so
mean, you
because
have that whole conversation. I know. I don't know. I'm all for it. I'm excited because we have, I think we have 5 VIPs. I'm starting one in January that I've decided to dedicate some time to, and I think what Coach Jay and the other coaches are starting to do with those VRPs has been absolutely
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
And
mind blowing.
I would love to see that if you ever became a VIP coach for a group of girls. That would be awesome.
Yeah, 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 cool. All right, so
We just got to get 50 of them though. That's the thing.
yeah,
Get
yeah,
50.
50
That's
girls. Yeah, that might be a bit difficult because it's
hmm
so male dominated, A lot of women when I talk to them and I say what I do, they're like, "Oh, I could never do that." I'm like, "But why?" What is the difference? I've always had a bit of a male brain on me. I think this is why I find myself pretty comfortable in male-oriented environments. I was a saxophone player, guitarist, grew up in like bands with men. I don't think I ever had a band where I wasn't the only woman. No, actually, there was one where the singer was female, but the rest of us, instrumentalists and stuff, a lot of them are men, right? And I've always felt more comfortable in those environments because sometimes you talk to certain women and they talk about things that I'm just not interested in. They talk about kids, they talk about hair and makeup. It's like I like doing my hair and makeup, but I don't want to talk about it. It's just like another thing that I do in a day. I don't know, so the interests of certain females is probably not anything against them. I think it's probably a result of societal norms where you get taught certain things as a woman. For example, we are allowed to express our emotions as very young children, but you see, especially in my country, I come from former Yugoslavia. We have this like macho things, like if you're a man, you cannot cry, you cannot show
yeah.
emotions, and then a lot of men are just like perpetually emotionally stunted because of that. They have to like, you see a little boy. There was this one hilarious occasion. There was like a little boy, like 5 years old, and he started to cry. And his father stood up and he said, "You're a man. Stop crying." And you see a little
hmm
boy like trying to stop the tears, and he's like, "I'm a man." It's just, I found it so hilarious. So it's
And
like, what are you doing? You're damaging a child.
that is, and it's just, I mean, this isn't a stupid conversation. This is very important when it
Yeah,
comes to the markets. This is psychology, like human psychology,
yeah,
because I know for a fact, like all my friends, I know a lot of people that are a man, like we're
yeah,
guys, and we suppress our emotions,
yeah.
and you can imagine when you're trying to suppress all your emotions to like you be a man, suck it up, and you're trading, and then you take a loss, and then you take another loss,
And then what's going to happen? You
and
just keep gulping the emotions? No, at some point you have to
correct.
deal with them. And that's the biggest problem. Again, Odysseus thinks it's a stupid conversation. I think it's a very important conversation because trading is emotions and how you deal with them,
Correct.
that will define you as a trader.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say trading is more emotional than anything else
Yeah.
because you're only clicking the button, a few times. You
Yeah.
should only be taking a few trades a day,
Yeah.
quality over quantity. Some of the best traders I see is 1, 2, 3 trades a day.
Yeah.
The rest is waiting. The
Yeah.
rest is waiting, watching the markets and dealing with those emotions, especially when you start to see the P&L starts to
Yeah.
move. And I could almost guarantee you every single person that's watching this who has trades is yes. You've been through those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
If you've traded, if you've blown an account, which I'm sure if you've been around, you have,
Yeah.
it's a very emotional thing, and everyone goes through their emotions in a different way.
Yeah. Right. I have a bit of a dilemma here about the corporate trade that I've been stalking. So I have a level at four evens. But we never actually got there. So sometimes corporate does these things where it just misses the round number, it turns around. So I have a couple of options now to try and enter a position on the hypothesis that we are not going to touch 4.0, or to wait and not be a grasshopper, as I like to call them, and then potentially suffer a loss. So, and in the vein of what we were just talking about, I'm going to wait at the risk of missing out on the move entirely. I'm going to wait for my level to be touched first because it's a good level. It's a, round number. And I think we have a good chance of getting there. I did want to get one trade in for the London session, but, the markets don't really care whether we're on air or not when the levels get reached. So I'm gonna wait. Again, patience, discipline, emotions. And the problem with trading is that it's money. Money is an emotional thing for everyone, I think, for a lot of people, I would say. So if you're avoiding the subject of emotionality during trading, I would look inside myself very deeply as to why that is, because it's just not true. Like, everybody gets done it. And I've worked with some incredibly, incredibly wealthy individuals, and yes, they might have different goals to, make 100 grand, $250,000 per trade, but it still hurts them when they don't do well and they suddenly lose $500,000, right? It still hurts.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yes.
emotions are there,
I just threw on 5 long on the NASDAQ right here at 173.25.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
All right. Are you going to keep that? We are coming to the end of the stream now, so just...
all right.
Yeah.
We have... What time does the stream end? Do we...
It's technically... We're a little over, but we can stay a few more minutes if you're up for it.
Okay, yeah, I want to see how we react.
Okay.
Just one more minute. The reason why I got into this, I had the 5-minute chart open a second ago, but we built a lot of resistance here. The same resistance that I was trading for the short side.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this as a breakout trade, breaking up, maybe see if we could test these 80s again. And then I zoom into the 1 minute and I'm looking and I'm watching this where that was a nice solid breakout candle. Of course, I don't like that we ran up so far so fast and then we broke out.
Yeah, but you still have space up until that supply up top, so that could be the end goal there, and then whatever happens there.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of times what I like to see this market do is we break out, we come back and we retest this zone.
Yeah.
And then this was resistance becomes support, and then we get a continuation. But we'll see. It's been a while since I traded the London session, and of course the London session acts different than the New York, and the New York session acts different than the Asian.
It's very whippy. Like, I find that any sort of breakout trades tend to fail in London, and then it just does whip, and then not much. That's what I've observed with NASDAQ in particular. But yeah, let's watch it for a few more minutes. We have a couple more questions. Trader DZ1, morning, love the streams. Quick question, why did you stop trading Forex? I don't know whether that's for both of us, because I know you traded Forex, didn't you? As well?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a Forex background.
Yeah, same. I started in euro dollar. I personally stopped trading it in 2012 when all of the interest rates went pretty much to zero. And it was across the board. So what happens with the FX? It needs that underlying momentum. There was such a thing called a carry trade. And that's kind of when you buy a currency of a country that you perceive that is devaluated. And then you effectively wait for the interest rate fundamentals to kind of rebalance things on some level. It was a very well-known strategy. And I was actually, I had an algorithm that was running those in like several baskets of Forex pairs that were using countries with traditionally higher interest rates like Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, and then kind of pairing them against GBP or the US dollar. And that worked really well for years, right? And then we ran into a period where it just died a death. It was around the EU austerity measures, 2012. I'm trading, I go into a trade, and back then my trades were swing trades, so I would be in a trade anywhere from like a couple of weeks up to a couple of months even, and I would make like thousands and thousands of pips. That's where my Twitter username came from, Pip Raider, like Tomb Raider, but with pips, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I was known by somebody who can catch like a bazillion pips in a couple of weeks. So after that, I get into a trade, and I wait, and it's a good level. It's the same level that I've used. 2 weeks later, it's like 10 pips in profit. So I was like, this is not good. And it carried on for like months and months. And I thought it's going to end. It's going to end. It's going to come back. And then I realized it's not coming back until the interest rates change, and that, as we know, took many years. I think it's a little bit better now, but I had a look at the average ranges across most forex pairs. It's still pretty abysmal compared to futures. So that was my reason. Do you still trade forex, or did you move away from that?
No, I've kind of moved on. I was gonna say I enjoy futures, but we do have Forex futures here.
Yeah.
Yep. Coach Jay, Coach Paul, they talk about like the euro
The
dollar,
yen as
the
well.
dollar
Yeah.
yen. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have that ability to trade here at Topstep. Personally, I'm an options trader. A lot of what I do in my personal stuff is options, but when I'm trading live and active in front of everybody here, it's what you guys see. It's the NASDAQ, crude oil, gold, and the Nikkei.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. We have a question from Shubham Singh. Coach Dakota and Marcus D, how can I learn about behavior of market in different sessions? I'm new to futures. Please guide me. I would say just observe and write things down and journal what you can see in relation to your levels. Coach Dakota, what would be your approach?
Yeah, I've always told traders that you just find a time that works best for you, because you could trade it during the New York session. You could trade it here during the London session, and then I trade it during the Asian session. And I've always told traders, make it fit your schedule, and you don't try and fit the market schedule, because that's the ultimate goal, is to become a trader, to free up your lifestyle. And if you have a job and whatever time zone you're in around the world, I just, whatever time you're available, whatever time like you feel confident, like for you, Dee, it's in the morning for you right now. For me,
I do like the New York session as well, so sometimes I will do this, then I have a nap, and then I come back for the New York session.
Fair enough. And like for me right now, it's 3 a.m. And if you're a night owl, this worked perfect for me. But then if you're an early, like you wake up early and the New York session just happens to be the best time, I just say it doesn't really matter the session. Just find one, feel comfortable, trade it consistently. You'll learn the characteristics, and maybe you could do what Dee's like you said, Dee, just journal each one.
Yeah, journal,
practice
see
it, observe it.
There's certain times of the day that have a characteristic, right? So let's say New York lunchtime, it's more prone to ranging. So, if you're looking for breakout things during the lunchtime in New York, you're probably not going to get that on most days. So just, adjusting your strategies around what you expect. And then if you're looking for breakout trades during the open, that's a great thing, because you have a lot of volume kicking about and it's more likely to happen. Trading is ultimately all about probabilities when you talk about strategies and just pure observation of what happens at what time of day. And like Dakota says, as long as you are, pretty methodical about just, using maybe one part of the day and just really learning how that breathes and behaves, that's definitely the first step to hone your skills as a new trader.
Yeah.
All right. What's happening with your trade there? Still going?
It's boring as heck, Dee.
Yeah.
I mean,
welcome to London.
Talking about, I thought slow markets was a while ago. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could get out of this trade. It was a breakout, and we just went sideways after that. Let's see if we could break into these 80s. The way I like to close out is, joining the ask. I'll get a few of this. Then I'll feel like staying up was definitely worth it in terms of the dollar amounts. It was worth it in general just to join you during this class. But
and there's a cherry on top. Yeah.
I'll also got to get this little cherry on the top here, the NASDAQ, swinging it while I'm half asleep anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just finish it out there. Take my $1,000 for the session and be good.
Yeah. It's a nice rate, isn't it? $1,000 for an hour.
Yeah, I'm just gonna flatten out that there. That's good. That's
awesome.
good.
All right. So I'm still waiting for this copper thingy to do what it needs to do. I still don't have a committed reversal that I want to see here, because I would like to, if this is a mean reversion from yesterday's drop off a cliff, I would like to keep this on for 2-3 hours, and for that I need the 30-minute chart to actually sustain the move properly. I don't have that yet. So I'm going to have to wait until my 11 o'clock, so for another half an hour or so. Until then, I'm going to say thank you to Coach Dakota for joining us. So I'm going to let you go and get some sleep, hopefully. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciated you staying up to come and hang with us. I hope you had fun with us too. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for having me. We'll have to do this again another time. And
and I mean, one evening, if I prepare myself, I can come and join in slow markets. I used to be a night owl, you see, but that's kind of changed.
What time is slow markets for you?
It's 1:30 a.m. So it's late, but it is doable. It's okay. Yeah, it's just about doable.
Okay. Well, good night, everybody. I'm gonna go get some rest.
Go. I'm gonna sign off. So thank you everyone for being here. Click the like, click subscribe, and I will see you all later. This has been TopstepTV. I'm Deeyana Angelo. That's Coach Dakota. Take care.